Hey gardeners, Amy here. Welcome to my garden. Today I want to talk about this lovely showstopper right here. This is called Veronicastrum virginicum, or Culvers root. Other common names of this plant include Culvers root, Culver physic, Culvers physic, and black root. Another common name is Bowman's root. It's actually in the plantain family, Plantaginaceae, but it's native to the eastern United States and the southeastern corner of Canada. I don't know if you can see these little bees, but there's little tiny native bees all over this thing right now. They're just loving it. And that's the thing about native plants. They evolved with our native insects. So our native insects like to eat these plants. By planting native plants, you are supporting the ecology where you live. It's in USDA zone 3 through 8. It grows about 4 to 7 feet high and about 2 to 4 feet wide. This is an absolutely fantastic plant as a backdrop. Plant a whole row of them next to each other. It could almost make a hedge. It's absolutely beautiful. Veronicastrum virginicum, commonly called Culver's root, is a large, erect, United States native perennial. Typically reaches 3 to 7 feet tall when in bloom, resembles a large veronica, except its lance-shaped leaves are in whorls, 3 to 7 leaves per whorl on the stems, rather than opposite or alternate. That is one thing that's really cool about this plant, is even when it's not blooming, the leaves are super unique. It's not often that you find leaves that are whorled around the stem like this, so it adds a whole new texture to your garden. Dense, slender, 9-inch long spikes called racemes of tiny, tube-like, white to pale blue flowers open from the bottom to the top in late spring to early summer, atop strong, upright stems. The bloom can extend well into summer. Smaller, branching, erect lateral racemes give the plant a candelabra-like effect when in full bloom. The stems are hairless and usually unbranched. The leaves are serrated and arranged in whorls of 3 to 7 around the stem. Culver's root is easy to grow in average, medium to wet, well-drained soils in full sun. It does tolerate harsh shade, especially if there's some extreme heat like in the deep south, but for the most part, it prefers full sun. Now, the real key here is the medium to wet. In my area, where we are a high desert and we get maybe 17 inches of rain in a year, and most of that's in the winter, it is not a xeric plant here. It would absolutely need supplemental water. So I have this on the side of my house that I water every 1 to 2 to 3 days. So it gets fairly regular water here, and it's very happy. It's in the filtered shade underneath my maple tree, but for the most part, it gets full sun in the afternoon. I've had this plant for a few years now, and it just keeps getting bigger and more beautiful. I love it. Again, it does tolerate light shade, but it does tend to flop and require some support if it's grown in too much shade. Soils should not be allowed to dry out. Usually it takes several years to establish itself in the garden. You can deadhead the spent racemes to extend the bloom period. Cut back plants after flowering to the basal growth to stimulate new foliage growth and possibly stimulate a late summer or fall bloom. It is a good component of a pollinator seed mixture, seeding native grasses and wildflowers together. It grows easily in sunny locations and combines well with wildflowers such as asters, bee balm, cardinal flower, swamp milkweed, goldenrods, and ironweeds. It's also deer resistant, so if deer are a problem in your yard, this is a good candidate for something that will be left alone. I did find one reference to the roots being toxic to humans and possibly causing vomiting, but I only found that in one source. And I found another source that said that's unproven, so take it or leave it, not sure. Just don't eat it. There are no serious pests or disease problems with this plant, but again, if it's in too much shade, it may need staking in order to stay upright. The most common visitors to the flowers are long and short-tongued bees, which collect pollen and nectar. Other pollinators include honeybees, bumblebees, mason bees, green metallic bees, and masked bees. Other insect visitors include the spicid wasps, butterflies, moths, and seraphid flies. The seeds are too small to be of interest to birds. While I was setting up my camera this morning, I also had a hummingbird visit. I'm not sure how much nectar they got out of these little tiny flowers, but she was sure enjoying it. Other uses include some medicinal things. Native Americans used this plant for several medicinal uses. It's used as an analgesic, cathartic, emetic, which induces vomiting, a treatment for coughs, fevers, rheumatism, and to assist with childbirth. This is not my area of expertise, so I'm not going to go any further into detail on that. If you want more information, you'll have to Google it yourself. But just know that it has been used by Native Americans and probably herbalists for centuries for other medicinal things. All right. Let's talk design. What is blooming at the same time as this? Well, it is currently the middle of July here in Spokane, and it is blooming. This is at its peak right now. What else is blooming? My salvia just finished. Echinaceas are going crazy. Rudbeckias are getting started. Daylilies are at their peak. Swamp milkweed is blooming. My self-heal is kind of still going. Liatris is getting started. And my agastache is just getting started. Also, my bee balm that I just planted the other day right next to this is also blooming at the same time. And this tall biennial guara behind me is also blooming, but I think it's several weeks early, so don't count on that one. Where I would recommend planting this, either as a specimen plant like I have it here next to something that'll bloom at the same time. Plant it in a place where it gets full sun to a little bit of dappled shade throughout the day, next to something that's going to bloom at the same time. So I have it next to my yellow daylily. Gorgeous. Absolutely wonderful combination. My apricot coral colored agastache right next to it is also stunning when they bloom at the same time. Gorgeous. Or an echinacea, rudbeckia, or a milkweed. Any of those would be absolutely fantastic next to this. And you could even have a cluster of 3 or 4 or 5 different things that are blooming at the same time. But I like to design gardens so that things are blooming at the same time in the same spot, so that they play off each other and they make a focal point that draws your eye in to that location. I also use the height, varying heights to create more interest and different foliage textures. All of those things are worth considering when you're designing a garden. This would also make a stunning row or backdrop. So like along the back of your garden, if you need something tall to just border and finish off a space, or if you want a tall hedgerow but don't really want something solid like a shrub, this would be a fantastic option for that. You could plant a whole grouping of them, and that would be an absolute showstopper. It would also be an excellent addition to a rain garden if you have enough water to have a rain garden. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this video was valuable to you. If it was, make sure to tell me by hitting the like button. If you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe so you get more gardening content in your video feed every week. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you in the garden.